Yes, now we are going to discuss about we are in now we are going to start our chapter in detail. What has been given that in our daily life we come across many people who we think are poor. Now in our daily life we come across many people who we think are poor. Now I would like to ask you a question, or we would like to further introspect and brainstorm this word, that who do you think is poor? What are the definitions in your mind about poverty, and whom you think that yes, they are poor? The single you can say vocabulary, or the single word which come in your mind, or the idea which come in your mind, is that we associate the persons who do not have money, we think they are poor. This is the only thing that come in our mind. Now the people, first question that arise is the availability of money remove poverty, or is there some other kind of poverty also exist? Now this is the one dimension, and the second dimension is that the people who do not have money, then in what kind of groups these people exist, or what occupations they are mainly engaged in, or what are those occupations in which when people get engaged then we call that people poor. Okay, what are those occupations, what are those what are those, you can say, groups that exist in societies who work in these occupations? So first thing, we think that the people who do not have land, they are poor. Second thing, we can think that people who do not have shelter or the home to live in, they are poor. Third thing, we can think that people who are rickshaw puller is a poor. Okay. Fourth thing, we can think that the people who is a driver, or you can say barber, or the cook, or the maid, these people are poor. These are the etc. There can be many other things which we can think that these are the people who are poor, but the main thing which we associate with all these people who belong to these occupations or these dimensions of working class, then one of the most common thing in these is that they do not have money. And when they do not have money, now the question arises, who are the people who do not have money? Then they belong to the different dimensions of working class. There is a clear diversification here. There is a clearly diversification of working class here. Okay, so this is the same thing that has been given in the now we are going to study. And the first dimension which we have discussed is the availability of money is capable enough to remove poverty, or there are some other kind of poverty exist. Then yes, there are also social status poverty which exist, which there exist some classes, or you can say people from certain caste groups, that this dimension of caste group we are also going to study in detail in our chapter later. There are some classes that exist even that they have money, then even after they achieve the availability of money, even then they are not able to remove their societal status poverty. Okay, and we are going to see these terms, and we are going to have discussion and we are also going to find out other dimensions that are related to this topic. Now let us see. Yes, they could be landless laborers. Yes, they do not have land in villages, or people living in overcrowded jhuggies in cities. Now there are two dimensions I have tell you, in which we divides our discussion mainly in each and every chapter, that is villages and cities. Now villages, the work which is mainly done in villages in our country India is agriculture. As I have already told you, nearly about 70% population of our country is dependent, or you can say at the time of independence even some more population dependent on agriculture than 70%, also some more is dependent on agriculture. And other people who are residing in villages are depend on allied activities of agriculture. Now what are these allied activities? As the term suggests, the activities that go with agriculture, like dairying, you can say dairying, dairy farming, and some other like pot making, or some equipment making, which is required in agriculture. So when you will take all these activities, then you will find out in villages near 80% population have their dependence on agriculture. Now on which thing, or what is that thing on which we do agriculture, or without that thing agriculture is not possible? Then it is land is the mainly thing in which we do agriculture. So here when we talk about villages, then we mainly discuss, then we mainly relate the idea of money availability with those persons who have land. Now the person who do not have land, then how he or she will be engaged in activity of agriculture? Then the only option which is left is that he or she have to work on some other people land, okay? So they become laborer. Now why they become laborer? Because they do not have land, so they are landless, and their identity is that they are laborer, so they are landless laborer. Now I think you have understood this term. Yes, okay. So they could be landless laborer in villages, and people living in overcrowded jhuggies in cities. Now we are going to talk about cities. Now whom we will associate? There are certain classes in cities. One class is the business class, who have their business, who are mainly living in cities because they have their business, or they have their production firms there, who do activity in these production firms. So this class is definitely means this is the class who distribute money to other, like laborers or other workers in their companies and employees. Okay, so it definitely have money. Second class is the working class, who is mainly residing in cities because they are working there. Yes, it is so much simple thing that they are working there. Now the question I am writing it here, working class. Now the question arises, what kind of work in which this working class is engaged? Either they are employees for the company, or like either this working class is providing physical labor or mental labor, emotional labor also can be. Yes, emotional labor. Now it is clear that mental labor we are mainly talking about company or any production firms, because these are the mainly units which provide employment in urban areas. Now the people who are providing mental labor, definitely they are working within the company and they have good salary, as they can afford, they can afford to live within a city. Emotional labor, these are also the persons who are related to like fields like human management, then they also can manage to live in city. Now third dimension comes physical labor. So this term is mainly associated, or they are working mainly on the time when there is a time in the, they do not their requirement is not much at the time when the firm has started to function. They are mainly required in the building of production houses, like construction work of any company. So now these are basically labor class of urban area. As I have told you about labor class of rural area, it is called landless labor. So this labor class of urban areas, I do not think it get. And one more dimension here arise is that this labor class is mainly, as we have already studied in earlier chapter also, this labor class is mainly migrated from rural areas, because of disguised unemployment. If you do not know about this term, refer previous chapter videos. Migrated from rural areas. Okay, so when they migrate, so one of them, so they have two tasks, that they have to find employment and they have to maintain their living. Okay, so employment which they find out, and they have to maintain their living by this employment. So the wages they get are not sufficient enough that they can maintain their survival in the city, because in city the products which are available are, their prices is high, whether they are homes or items related to food or travel and many much more things, like the daily requirements of a persons for their survival. So they live on the outskirts of city, means outside city, but at that much distance, so that they can travel by foot or by other mediums which are not that much costly. Okay, so and on these outskirts where they live are commonly known as jhuggies. So I think you have understood the concept of jhuggies. Now let us move further. I think you have understood that much information. They could be daily wage worker, yes, we have studied it, at construction site, yes, or child worker in dhabas. They could also be beggars with children in tatars. We see poverty all around us. What it is saying, students, that they could be wage workers at construction sites or child workers. Now what do you understand by this term child workers, as the working age population yes, we see poverty all around us. In fact, every fourth person in India is poor. This means roughly 270 million or 27 crore people in India we have poor according to the census of 2011 and 12. This also means that India has the largest single concentration of the poor in the world. This illustrates the seriousness of the challenge. So now I think you have understood, how much serious this problem is, that we have largest, not one of the largest, we have largest concentration of poor in the world, and in fact we have every fourth person as poor. Nearly 270 million or 27 crore people we have as poor people. Okay, we have now two typical cases of poverty we are going to study. What are these two typical cases? That 33-year-old Ram Saran. There is a person named Ram Saran. He is 33-year-old and he works as a daily wage laborer. Okay, he works as a daily wage laborer in a wheat flour mill near Ranchi in Jharkhand. He is a daily wage laborer in a wheat flour mill near Ranchi in Jharkhand. He manages to earn around rupees 1500 a month, and when he finds employment, which is not often, means this employment which he does is not sufficient for his living. This money is not enough to sustain his family. He has 6 members in his family, which include a wife and 4 children, which are aged between 12 years to 6 months. Means this is the age in which children need nutrition in their diet. So he is also not able to provide this, nutrient rich diet and better lifestyle to this family of 6. Now what he has to also do, he has to send money home to his old parents also, who live in village near Ramgarh. His father is a landless laborer, means his father reside in village and he work in urban area in a wheat flour mill. His father is a landless laborer, depends on Ram Saran. His father is also dependent on him and his brother, who live in Hazaribagh for sustenance. And his brother is also dependent on his father, mother is also dependent on him, and he has already a family of 3. Now 3 more person dependent on him, means 9% dependent on the wages he earned by working in flour mill. Now Ram Saran lived in a 1-room rented house in a crowded basti. He lived in a 1-room rented house, means there is a single room, and in this room they manages all their daily life affairs, like also washroom, kitchen, living room, study room, drawing room, all the kind of rooms. It is a temporary shack built of bricks and clay tiles, means it is not also a pakka type house, it is a temporary shack. His wife Shanta Devi works as a part-time maid. His wife works as a maid in a few houses and manages to earn 800. They manage meager meal of dal and rice twice a day, but this is not enough for them. Now his elder son works as a helper in a tea shop. Now he has children range between 12 years to 6 months. So we can conclude by it that his elder son is 12 years old. Now you can see, when a child of 12 years is engaged in work, then he definitely do not go to school. So his education is also getting affected. to supplement his family income and earn rupees 300, while his 10-year-old daughter take care of his sibling. Now you can analyze the situation. How much old is a 10-year-old child? If we calculate by age, then he is in second or third class. Now this child is taking care of 2-3 children. Then how much difficult is it for this girl and all other spheres of her life, whether social or physically, emotionally, and health, her studies, all of the things are getting affected in a very bad way. Her health, each and everything. Now they have only 2 pairs of hand-me-down clothes, and only when these clothes become unwearable they change them, and shoes are the luxuries for them, and their kids are undernourished. Yes, definitely they are going to be undernourished. In this age, children require loads and loads of food which is rich in nutrients, but their income is not sufficient enough to fulfill these requirements, so they are definitely going to be undernourished. They have no access to health care when they fall ill. Now you can have an estimation that they do not have health, they do not have education, they do not have nutrient rich diet, they have meager meal to eat, so they do not have food. Their standard of living is very much low, as they live only in a single room. Okay, so you are saying that how much requirements are left behind which are not be fulfilled due to the lack of money, and other spheres of life of children are getting impacted in a very bad way. So this is the situation of poverty in India. Now rural case. Now we are going to see a case which is rural. Lakha Singh belongs to a small village near Meerut in Uttar Pradesh. His family does not own any land. Now see the case. When you live in village, as I have already explained you, and you are landless, then you come in the poor people, because now you have to work on other people land as landless laborer. Okay, now there is a case. When Lakha Singh belongs to a small village near Meerut in Uttar Pradesh. His family does not own any land, so they do odd jobs for their big farmers. Yes, work is erratic and so is income, means their work is also irregular and so their income is also irregular. At times they get rupees 50 for a hard day work, but often it is in kind like a few kilograms of wheat and dal they can in the farm through the day they can maintain that. The family of 8, now he has family of 8 person and they cannot manage 2 square meal a day. Lakha lives in a kacha house on the outskirts of the village. The women of the family spend the day chopping fodder and collecting firewoods in the fields. Now this woman is not working woman, but she manages woods and all like fodder and all the things, so that their cost of living get minimized and they could have some income so that they can maintain 2-time meals for themselves. Now his father is TB patient and he has passed away due to lack of medication. Now they also do not health, and her mother also suffering from the same diseases, and she is also slowly ebbing away, means she is also near the death. Also the village has a primary school, but Lakha never went there and he had to start earning when he is 10 years old. As you in the previous case also you have seen that how the 10 years girl is taking care of 2-3 children. New clothes happen once. Yes, in the previous case also, when their clothes get shattered, only then, or they become unwearable, only then they go for new clothes. New clothes happen once in a few years. Even soap and oil are luxury for them, and for them shoes were the luxury. So now you have seen what is the situation of poverty. So by the above example, by the studying the above cases of poverty and discuss the following issues related to poverty, you can have that what are the things that are causing poverty. Yes, landlessness in villages, unemployment, and also the employment which is not enough, which do not provide enough wages, so and they are not able to sustain themselves. Size of families when large. Okay, illiteracy, if they have become literate, they work in some other fields. Poor health, yes. Child labor, helplessness, all these factors we have studied in the previous cases. Landlessness measure, illiteracy measure, poor health also, and size of the family most important in the previous cases which we have seen. What we have seen: landlessness, poor health, illiteracy, size of the family. And what were the result of all these three? Unemployment, child labor, and helplessness. Okay, unemployment, child labor, and helplessness were the result, and these four major problems we have seen in the earlier cases. Now what has been given here, these two typical cases illustrate many dimensions of poverty. Yes, we have seen many dimensions like helplessness, unemployment, and size of the families, many. They show that poverty means hunger, lack of shelter. Yes, it is also a situation in which parents are not able to send their children to school, or a situation where sick people cannot afford treatment. Now you need to give some care here. But has been signified that these two typical cases illustrate many dimensions. Now what do you mean by dimensions here? The word dimension here is also signifying the causes of the poverty and the possible effect of the poverty. Okay, they show that hunger, lack of shelter, all these are the result when we do not have enough money. What others are the result? Not able to send their children to school, lack of education, or a situation where sick people cannot afford treatment. Lack of education or no treatment. Poverty also means lack of clean water and sanitation, lack of regular job. Now what else? Lack of clean water and sanitation and regular job at a minimum decent level. Above all, it means living with helplessness. Poor people are in the situation in which they are always ill treated at almost every place, in farms, factories, government offices, hospitals, railway station, etc. So means you can see all of these situations are leading the situation of helplessness. So these are the dimensions which have which are being present due to poverty. Yes, and what were the result we have of this poverty? That these people are ill treated at farms, at factories, at government offices, hospitals, railway station, etc. Now when these people do not have money for their bare facilities of life, so do you think they would have time and also money to fight for justice when injustice happen with them? And injustice happen with them in all the spheres, like farms, their rights are exploited, they are not paid the money which is required to pay for their work. They are often paid less wages. Same in factories, their working hours are more and wages are less. Government offices, they are discriminated in many ways. Hospitals, like they provided treatment later. First, the people who have money, they get treatment. In railway stations they are getting exploited in many ways, like many were abducted, some were become the victim of robbery and many other things. Like their rights are exploited. Basically, their rights are exploited. Now, obviously nobody would like to live in poverty. Yes, one of the biggest challenges of independent India has been to bring millions of its people out of abject poverty. Mahatma Gandhi, now the quote of our father of nation has come into picture, that Mahatma Gandhi always insisted that India would be truly independent only when the poorest of its people become free of human suffering. Now when you will give look and think over it, then you will realize all of these things are human suffering. Can anything be more worse or bad than the situation of helplessness, that even you would like to improve your situation but you can't? You do not see any hope to come out this cycle of poverty, because the only hope you can have which can bring you out of this poverty is education or skills. But these skills are also require money to learn these skills, and you do not have money for your lifestyle, then how would you have money for these skills? So it is the function or work of government to work for these skills, to provide these skills, and also the bodies which we have formed in our society for the purpose of social welfare. And in social welfare of these kinds of people come first, mainly the poor people. Like various NGOs have been opened, the bodies which work for providing skills to human and mainly women. Okay, so they can maintain their life. Now, how the poverty is seen by social scientists, we are now going to study. Since poverty has many facets, social scientists look at it through the variety of indicators. What are these indicators? Usually the indicators used relate to the level of income and consumption, that how much a person earn and how much he spend to consume, so the basic needs of his or her life get fulfilled. Basically it related with the level of income. But now poverty is looked through other social indicators like illiteracy level, lack of general resistance due to malnutrition, lack of access to health care, lack of job opportunities, lack of access to safe drinking water and sanitation. What has been mentioned here, that earlier only the people who do not have income are considered poor people, but now many other dimensions, or you can say many other facets of poverty are also seen, like the people who do not have safe drinking water, so they are poor in their health wise. The people do not have education, they are poor in skill wise. Now the who do not have access to job opportunities, they are poor opportunity wise. Okay, they are poor opportunity wise. Who do not have like good health, we have already studied it. So these are also the some new indicators which are coming into picture. And now we have also bring new dimension, that we want safe environment, good environment, and there is also a case in Supreme Court. So I think whether you know about Supreme Court or not, but this is the court. You can understand it simply. This is the body which gives justice, and in this we have filed a case that we want safe environment or the air in Delhi specifically, which is pollution free. This is our right. So this is also poverty health wise if we do not get this. So analysis of poverty based on social exclusion and vulnerability is now becoming more common. Now the various factors you have seen, there are some more factors that when some portion of people got socially excluded and they are vulnerable to, and we will understand the concept of vulnerability, then this is also different kind of poverty. Now what is social exclusion? According to this concept, what has been written? Yes, according to this concept, poverty must be seen in terms of the poor having to live only in poor surroundings with other poor people, excluding from enjoy social equality of better of people in better surroundings. Now what has been written here, that poor people, whether like taking the situation of villages, whether they normally either they normally by their own mind live differently or in the outskirts of the village, means outside the village, or you can say on the boundaries of village, and even and second chance is that if they do not do this on their own, then they are excluded, or they are exposed to outside villages, or on the outskirts of villages, by influential persons in the villages, and these influential persons are those who are not poor. They have money, means they want to, in their social life, they want to spend this social life only with the persons who are same like them. Now this similarity does not mean similarity like you have same ears, eyes. No, this similarity means similarity of status in money wise. Okay, so this has been given here, and this phenomena is termed as social exclusion. Okay, social exclusion. Now social exclusion can be both a cause as well as a consequence of poverty in the usual sense. Now how it can be a cause and it can also be a consequence of poverty. It can be a cause. How it can be a cause of poverty? Like you are poor, you know this. So you are poor, you do not have money. So now you cannot manage to live in those areas where land price is more. Okay, where there is requirement of more money to spend money, and these areas are located in the center of the village. Okay, village or city. So you yourself cannot be afford. So this is the cause of poverty, that now you are you are pushed to outskirts, both in villages and in cities. In cities they are known as jhuggis. Okay, now how can it be a consequence? How can it be a consequence of poverty? Now you are poor, so the people who are rich do not want to stay with you, so it become consequence of poverty. Okay. Now, broadly, it is a process through which individuals or groups are excluded from facility, benefits, and opportunities also that others, their betters, enjoy. A typical example is the working of the caste system in India, in which people belonging to certain caste are excluded from equal opportunities. Social exclusion thus may lead but can cause more damage than having a very low income. Yes, the famous example of this phenomena is working of the caste system. Now, this working, what happens in this working of the caste system? In center of the village, only people of upper caste live. They share life with each other and the work, which, and they share same work with each other, which the work which is of same status, like they exchange money with themselves, with each other, not at so much interest rate, but when they share this money with people of lower caste, it is very much high interest rate, with high interest rates they shares. Now these people again go in the loop of poverty. Now another thing, what kind of poverty caste system bring? Now caste system do not bring only economic poverty. It bring economic poverty, but not only economic poverty. It does not bring. What it bring with it? It brings social poverty. It bring mental poverty. It bring emotional breakdowns. It bring lack of hope or no chance these people see in their villages to improve their life, because people of upper caste will not let them. It bring administrative poverty, that and how administrative poverty it bring, that the panchayats, the local bodies in panchayat which do justice, that the head of these panchayats, that popularly known as sarpanch, would always belong to upper caste. Okay, so how it bring mental poverty, that these peoples are tortured, they are not understand as equal human with the people of upper caste. They are understand second class human. They are understand that they are like, they are not sacred. Okay, this is social poverty, that they are not socially included, they are mentally tortured, they are emotionally blackmailed, they do not have any hope. Okay, so all these kind of poverty it brings. Now the second concept we are going to understand, that is vulnerability. Vulnerability to poverty is a measure which describes the greater probability of certain communities, say members of backward caste or individuals such as widow or physically handicapped person, of becoming or remaining poor in the coming years. Now, what has been discussed here, that this vulnerability, it simply means who is more vulnerable to poverty, or who is more vulnerable to poverty. And if someone is poor, and if suppose many groups are poor today, then out of these groups, like out of these various group, which portion of people is that portion which is supposed to remain poor in the future also, and also to face consequence of poverty more, even out of poor also. Means these are poor in poors, means they are even more poor in the group of poor people also. Now who are these groups? They are the people of backward caste. Now there may be chances that upper caste people, if get some facilities of government, like government provide education to the people who do not have economically, who are economically poor, they have economic poverty. If their economic poverty is if their economic poverty came down, then they are not socially poor, they are not emotionally poor, they are not administratively poor, they are they are not socially excluded, they are not the victim of social exclusion. No, they are just economic poor. But the people of when you will see the people of backward caste or individual, then they are the subjects of poverty. And in suppose first you belong to lower caste, and in lower caste also you are women, and in women also you are widowed women, and in this group of women also you are physically handicapped. Okay, you are physically handicapped. Suppose the level of trauma, the level of pain, the level of anguishness, the level of discrimination, and the level of torture you will face in the society. Okay, so this is the concept of vulnerability. Concept of vulnerability came out of poverty. Okay, now vulnerability is determined by the options available to different communities for finding an alternative living, in terms of assets, in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of job opportunities. What options available to different communities. Further, it is analyzed on the basis of greater risk these groups face at the time of natural disasters like earthquakes, tsunami, terrorism. Additional analysis is made of their social and economic ability to handle these risks. In fact, vulnerability describes the greater probability of being more adversely affected than other people when bad time comes for everybody, whether a flood or an earthquake or simply a fall in the availability of jobs. Now lot of information have been given here and we need to decipher it. Now what has been given here, that vulnerability is determined that how many options available with different communities. I have already explained you the given of upper caste and lower caste, that they are just economically poor, not in other spheres. They are and low people of lower caste in poor in each and every spheres. I have given you many examples. So the options available to different communities to find alternate living in terms of asset, education, health, job opportunities. Now how many options are available to these different communities? Now some communities are rich in finding these options, majorly people of upper caste, and some are not able enough to finding them. Now it is analyzed on the basis. Now when natural disasters occur, then definitely the people, who are the people who suffer during natural disasters? They are the people who do not have pakka houses. They are the people who cannot manage the risk of disaster even before and after, when everything shattered. Then who are these people? Who are the people? Who are the group who do not been able to make their living more? Okay, so these people are called vulnerable people. And and their social ability, their economic ability to handle the risk of these disasters. Describe the greater probability of being more adversely affected during earthquakes and tsunami. So definitely these people are going to be more adversely affected in the case when the natural disasters come. And when we analyze different communities on the scale of like which communities have better opportunities to acquire good health, good education, assets, and all these things, job opportunities, then who are the communities which are more vulnerable in this scale, and these are also vulnerable. Then we examine on the scale of opportunities who are the like social and economic, who are the more vulnerable, who are more vulnerable to natural disasters, and who are more vulnerable to other kinds of problems. Okay, so I think you have understand till here. Now the concept of poverty line is there, we will study it later.